welcome to another training video from K-Talk. My name is Karen Burgoyne and I'm the founder, owner and director of this business. Today I'm bringing you another training video. This one's called Navigating the Employment World, Chaos for Someone on the Autism Spectrum. Let's get on with the presentation. The topics of discussion in this video are an introduction of myself, early life, education and transitions from school to the workplace, navigating unemployment, transition strategies for you and your individual. I'll be providing some K-Talk courses that I can offer you as a parent, carer, teacher or individual, and my contact details. So I was diagnosed at the age of 30 with what was known back then in the late 90s with Asperger's syndrome. Prior to that, nothing was known back in the 70s or 80s or even early 90s when I was young or growing up. The diagnosis gave me answers as to why I was behaving the way I did back then. Those experiences and even the mistakes that I never wanted to face, that I had to go through, sometimes traumatic, became turning points that shaped me who I am today, teaching me lessons that helped me to grow stronger, wiser, and more determined and resilient than ever before. When I went to school, I finished school in 1984. So when you left school, you went out and found a job because many TAFE courses weren't available as they are today. So for me, transitioning from school into work was much simpler in the early to mid 1980s, early 90s. But given the fact or being that I wasn't diagnosed with my disability back then, my behaviour was still out of control, so I didn't know what to do or how to control it until I was diagnosed in 1998. So it was my immaturity that kept on getting me the sack, and I kept on getting another job, and then I kept getting the sack. But that seemed normal to me. I didn't quite understand what I was doing wrong. I didn't understand what or how my behaviour affected others. But back then you would visit a CES office, Commonwealth Employment Service, and register your details. Each day job listings were printed out and pinned to soft foam notice boards. You chose a job that seemed like a good fit. You'd sit down straight away with a staff member, and before you knew it, you were being sent off to an interview. It was really that easy. It happened in the blink of an eye. Following the interview that you had with the employer, you would return home and spend the next day waiting anxiously in anticipation for a phone call to inform you of the outcome. At that time, there was no internet or email. Communication relied solely on the telephone or the landlines that we'd only had back then. Quite often the call never came. Many people felt apprehensive and suffered high anxieties about telephoning the employer themselves to inquire about the result, with their anxieties mounting at each moment as each moment passed. So sometimes you'd ring and leave a message, but then the message never got returned either. When contact was eventually made, it was not uncommon to be informed that the position had already been filled that day. In some cases, the employer had totally forgotten about the interview conducted the week before, and another candidate had been offered the role either the same day or shortly thereafter. So after that rigmarole of going through that job finding process, you go and do it all over again. And in my case, I'd have to catch the bus to Heidelberg, which is in Melbourne, or Preston, and get off the bus and go to the CES and try and find another job for myself. In 1984, I went to a posh business school to learn how to type ready for administration jobs, because that was the in thing. Administration was something that I really wanted to do. You learned how to type 50 words per minute at 98% accuracy. Then you did shorthand and dictation. It was manual work back then. This was the thing that women were told to do, to be a secretary or administrative person in a company or business. So I'm sure you would remember these, the very first typewriters, and we had a typing book that we had to learn the keys, etc. And once we'd finished the book, we'd flip it over and work through to the other end, because there was exercises on the other side. And once we'd finished doing that book, then we would be finished our typing and we'd get a pass for that. For me, I have continued to pursue education and training throughout my whole life in this area. However, I have consistently faced challenges due to lack of work experience opportunities, which I was never given the chance to obtain for myself and for my career. People these days just judge people for having so many barriers and won't open themselves up and adapt to that person with barriers in their workplace. They'd much prefer someone to be young out of uni and who studied, rather than someone who faces disabilities or has barriers to employment because they don't want to understand, they don't want to know. And they don't want to bring themselves down to that point where they don't want to have someone to train someone with a disability. But then other companies and businesses have embraced that opportunity and are a fully pledged safe workplace for those with neurodiverse backgrounds and other people with disabilities. And they find that those people with disabilities or disabilities are really beneficial to their organisation, as they not only produce hard work, they focus on their tasks, their thoroughness and accuracy is higher than what a non-neurodiverse person is, but also they never take a day off, never have holidays, and they remain faithful and loyal to that organisation for a very long time until they finally retire or resign from that organisation. Computers. With the introduction of computers, electronic software programs such as word processing and spreadsheet applications became available, allowing tasks to be completed far more efficiently than before. So when Windows 95 came out, you had to load it with a floppy disk. You had to load the DOS system first. And once that was done, you loaded Multimate or Lotus 123 as the first word processing and spreadsheet applications. And then you would have the software in one disk and your floppy disk in the other to save your work on. They weren't able to save on hard drives, but gradually, bit by bit, they had networks and you would be able to save your work on clouds, as what we can do now. Internet access and email communications were not introduced until around 1995 or 96. So I vividly remember getting my very first Hotmail address. And I never checked it because I didn't have any friends like I do today. I write so many emails today. But back then they only had like a contacts list and 25 meg, and we thought that was big. And then Yahoo upgraded their Yahoo came out and it upgraded to 250 meg. So then MSN or Hotmail upgraded their disk space or storage space to 250 meg, and that was big. Then Yahoo decided, yep, we'll go a terabyte. And then gradually, bit by bit, MSN worked on building a calendar. And then MSN spaces, like your own little personal space on the web where you could have your news and like a little blog. And then email evolved, and now we've got OneDrive, Google Drive. So Gmail came out around 2000, and only people who got invites were able to get a Gmail address. Now Gmail is one of the most widely used emails to service providers around the world. And according to my research that I've done, only Outlook or Microsoft and Gmail provide the online software that you can use for your Google Drive. Microsoft is the authentic one. Google have their own doc sheets and slides, where Word has Word, Excel and PowerPoint. Microsoft has Word, Excel and PowerPoint. But if you don't have access to the software, you can definitely use them online. And it's very handy because if you are one like me who has files all over the place and storage online, you are able to upload a file to your cloud or drive and then download it at the other end. Instead of having a USB stick and you have to go home and download it on your computer and bring it back, just upload it to your cloud and then download it wherever you're going to be. But I find that very, very handy. From that point, opportunities such as youth traineeships became more accessible and available. These programs typically involve working 3 days a week in a school environment to develop administrative skills, while spending the remaining 2 days at TAFE to further training and knowledge in this field. I went for this, but I ended up being exposed to by a predator who was taking advantage of me and wouldn't give me my printing unless I licked his genitals, basically. And then it was my fault. I got the blame for egging him on, and I ended up working in a mailroom till about 1987. But that served me my purpose, because I went into town each day, I did my job, I had lunch, I was earning good money, I'd come home, and I'd do that 5 days a week. Then I was bored, there was something better to do than that. So I ended up leaving somehow. My career choice, or so I thought, was being in an office in my dream job, doing administration for a company or organisation. It never turned out that way. My career was that I was a lollipop lady for a local council for 20 years. Prior to that, I was a console operator for another company and did a 3-year stint in a government department where I was constantly bullied and discriminated during the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's a key takeaway for you. Unemployment and financial hardship can deeply affect your confidence and mental well-being. But these feelings are a normal response to a difficult situation, and seeking support is a sign of strength, not failure. So imagine standing yourself in a Centrelink queue, waiting to be served, to ask for money to survive on. And it's not easy being paid once a fortnight, and once you pay your bills and everything else, there's not really much left. Living on a limited fortnightly payment can make daily life incredibly restrictive. It affects what you can afford, the choices you can make, what you can do, and how you live your life day to day. adding even more pressure during an already challenging time in your life for yourself. Living on a limited fortnightly payment means missing out on many of life's luxuries, overseas holidays, stable housing, affordable rent, groceries, bills, school fees, uniforms for your kids, sports activities also, and many other essentials that you may have to fork out for. For me personally, I'm single. I own a house because I was caring for someone and that person passed away and gave me his whole entire deceased estate, so I built my house. But otherwise I still would have been living with another family member for the rest of my life, who provided me with a home and shelter and food in my stomach and clothes on my back, which I bought myself. Financial hardship during unemployment can heavily impact your daily life and emotional well-being. Recognising these challenges is the first step toward finding support, stability, and hope for the future. Another key takeaway. Financial limits can also affect your daily choices, your lifestyle, and your sense of independence. This situation can feel overwhelming, restrictive, and emotionally draining. Sometimes you can't even afford to go out for a cup of coffee. It's $6 now for a cup of coffee, and to have a cake it's $13. What a luxury. If I did that once a fortnight, that'd be my treat. Career choices. Once your son or daughter has decided on their career choice, the next steps for them is how to get connected with an IEA, Inclusive Employment Australia agency, to get the ball rolling to help them achieve their employment goals. A meeting with Centrelink should also be set up, as some may have to be referred by this agency to join up to the employment agency itself. The question was for me, even though I was consistently applying for roles, I faced rejection time and time again, as I literally had no experience whatsoever. Eventually, I decided was enough and chose to redirect my focus towards building my business. During a particularly tumultuous year in 2025, I updated 2 of my existing courses and went on to create an entirely new one from scratch. It felt like a major achievement. Now these courses are being published globally, with the aim of supporting and empowering other families who are navigating life with a son or daughter on the autism spectrum. Finding work is a full-time challenge on its own. One important step is preparing for this is setting up a professional email address for the individual with ASD or neurodiversity, ideally using their first and last name for job applications and employment communication. Individuals should have 2 email addresses, one personal and one professional or business focused. Once they secure a job, the professional email can be used to communicate with the employer until they are fully onboarded in the workplace. So I have a personal one, Outlook, I have a business one, Office 365, and I have a professional one, Gmail. Transition strategies. Transitioning from school to work for students with disabilities requires early tailored planning starting from around the age of 14 or 15, focusing on skills development and work experience. Key strategies include individualised education plans, vocational training, TAFE or VET. Going to uni perhaps will be very exciting for the person with ASD perhaps. Building independence and using providers like Milestones Employment. IEA, Inclusive Employment Australia, an Australian government service that assists people with disabilities in finding and maintaining suitable employment in the open labour market. ADE, Australian Disability Enterprises, provides supported employment opportunities specifically for individuals with high support needs. Key components for success. Start transition planning early by developing an individual career plan, IEP, or career action plan to set goals and identify necessary supports. The NDIS provides school leaver employment supports, SLES, for eligible participants, which offer tailored training, job readiness, and on-the-job support. Work experience. Gaining experience through internships, vocational training, and work placements is crucial, often provided through initiatives like the Ticket to Work program. Skill development. Focus on building job-ready skills such as communication, transportation, time management, and social skills. Transition planning often focuses on building both technical and soft skills necessary for independence. Job readiness. Interview practice, resume writing, and understanding workplace behaviour. But understanding the hidden rules of workplaces is something for people with autism that they don't understand. That wasn't explained to me during my time in a government department because I didn't have any experience at the time and still don't. Life skills. Independent travel or travel training using public transport, money handling, bank account handling with and time management, superannuation and tax, which they all need to know about. Social skills, communication, interpersonal skills, and working effectively within a team. I have some courses that will offer you hope. The Aspectism for Adults offers you understanding of autism in itself and how to train your individual son or daughter to be independent, because they need to be independent and learn to make and manage their own decisions when you leave this earth. Who is going to look after them in your family? And the Employers and Family Edition, this one helps you to navigate their career opportunities and also gives you the steps and you the empowerment to empower them and impact them so that they can make their own decisions about their own career choices. This is available under the shop section of my website at ktalk.au. Here is my information if you'd like to contact me. My email address. You can also watch other training videos on my YouTube channel and my website should you want any further information or you wish to contact me. That's the end of this presentation. Thanks for watching. You know you want to hit that subscribe button. Yeah, go for it. Please like, comment and share these videos with others. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.